Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polar Craft Boats, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. So glad to have you along with us. How was your Christmas? I hope it was a blessed Christmas for you and your family. Around the Avery house, it was. It was absolutely wonderful. But now it's time to look forward to the new year and everything that will bring. In our outdoor passions, our outdoor pursuits, our outdoor lifestyle, Mother Nature plays a big role in what we get to do and what we enjoy and how we enjoy those activities, those passions, those pursuits. And if you're an ice fisherman, an ice angler, or if you like snow for snowmobiling or cross-country skiing or whatever, you're probably kind of bummed out right now, at least across most of the state. Just remember, Michigan's meteorologist, Mark Torregrossa, was here with me on the show about 6 weeks ago. I said, what does the winter weather forecast look like? He said, the forecast for November and December could bring some cold and some snow. He said, once we get through December, he said, the odds for a winter don't look very good. Well, guess what? We got through December. Now we're looking at January. Ugh. For the people who rely on cold and snow and ice for a big part of their income, I'm praying for you. I'm feeling bad for you. Because at this point, there are more people fishing open water across the state than there are fishing through the ice fishing. Good news for some, bad news for others. There is some fantastic open water fishing going on across the state, at least the lower part of the state. Steelhead action on the west side of the lower. On the east side of the lower, it's walleye fishing. Saginaw Bay, Saginaw River, Lake St. Clair, Detroit River, Lake Erie. Some big fish. This is the time of year, now until the spawn, to catch a double-digit fish. Hearing several reports of double-digit fish on Saginaw Bay, which during the summertime when I'm out there is just unheard of. You know, you catch a 27-inch fish out there, but it's a bullet. These days, now for the next 6 weeks or so, 2 months maybe, you catch a fish that length and you're going to have your double-digit fish. So, if you can't go ice fishing, you go open water fishing. Or you wrap up the season deer hunting like I am. And I'll tell you right now, I still don't have a deer. Still, people, they send me emails, texts, I see them on the street. Did you get your deer yet? Did you get your doe? Not yet. Not as I am sitting here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio right now. There's still a few more days. It's sad, isn't it? It's so sad that somebody is such a bad hunter that they can't shoot a doe in Michigan, especially with the liberal harvests regulations that we have. I mean, I'm still hunting with my rifle, my .350 Legend. I can't shoot what I don't see. I hear from people saying, I'm on my third doe, my fourth doe, my fifth doe, and that's fine. God bless you. I mean, the regulations are there that allow you to do it. Do it. We need to shoot more does. I am faced with this decision. Do I stay on the lease property, or do I take advantage of the charity of one of my friends and go shoot one of their does? I have several friends who have reached out to me and say, Avery, don't be so stubborn. Don't be so stupid. I have deer coming into my food plots every day during daylight. Come on over and shoot one of my does. And I appreciate that. Thank you. And I was going to. But honestly, as I was sitting in the truck this morning in the parking lot of the radio station, going through the rundown, going through what I was going to cover in this week's show, I made the decision. I'm going to stick it out on the lease. And it likely will not happen. But I feel like, I don't know, it's the stubborn streak in me that says, stay there. And I don't know why. The last several times out there, what is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing, or definition of stupidity in my case, doing the same thing over and over and trying to get a different result. I'm doing the same thing over and over. The last time out, and I have been hunting since we last talked, I said, okay, the deer aren't coming into the food plots during the daytime. Get away from the food plots. So I did. I sat in an old blind, back into the woods, off the food plots, over towards the state land where, a lot of the deer are coming from. I thought, okay, I can intercept one of these big does on the way into the food plot. Didn't see a thing. And it was a pretty good night for it. I had an east wind, which was perfect. It was a little bit colder. It wasn't balmy like it had been the last several days. Didn't happen. Didn't see a thing. But I think I'm going to give it one more shot, no pun intended, and see what happens. By the end of the season, I will feel good knowing that I gave it everything that I had. I didn't hunt smart, but I hunted hard. We'll see what happens. So we are looking at a new year now. What happens with the new year? People make New Year's resolutions. I don't make New Year resolutions because resolutions are made to be broken. I make New Year goals, things that I want to work hard for, things that I will try my best to make happen. And one of them, again, in 2024 is to shoot a Michigan deer. It's not that hard of a goal. It shouldn't be. But that's a goal for 2024. Another New Year goal for 2024 is to fish more. In the summertime, I don't know how I could fish more. I spend a lot of time out there on Saginaw Bay on the angler quest, but I want to fish more. You know what else I want to do? I want to take more newbies out in the water. I really enjoy taking people out on Saginaw Bay who haven't fished before or haven't fished for walleye before and showing them how we fish, catching them a few fish. They won't be big fish. They'll be the small summertime Saginaw Bay, skinny water, inner bay fish. But people enjoy it, and I love it. That will be a goal. Another goal of mine for 2024 is to finally get rid of the stupid rod restrictions for Great Lakes trolling anglers. Why are we limited to 3 rods? It doesn't make any sense. The resource, the fishery, is protected by size limits and creel limits. Doesn't matter how many rods you use to catch them. It just hampers the small guy who's out there, or gal who's out there fishing by themselves, running 3 rods. Doesn't make any sense. And there are some things in the works behind the scenes that could make that happen. Now, I'm not responsible for those, but I am going to jump on that bandwagon. I'm going to beat that drum, and I'm going to do what I can to help those people get rid of that stupid rod restriction limit. Another goal I have, and this one I think I can do, is to win the Pure Michigan Hunt. That's been a goal of mine since the Pure Michigan Hunt came out. It's going to happen. I am going to win the Pure Michigan Hunt sometime while I'm still here on Earth. And if I can't win it, I hope you win it, and you've still got time to do that. It's only $5 to apply. And here's something that's not a goal. It's a dream. And I got thinking about this the last few days as this whole Rampolla buck, and it's not Rampala, it's Rampolla. The Rampolla buck just will not go away. Mitch Rompola, who back in 1998 shot what would have been a world record had he submitted it. He didn't, for whatever reason, but the story won't go away. I have videos of my conversations with Mitch back in the day. I interviewed him on my radio show back in the day. That audio has since been lost, except for an excerpt from that conversation on the so-called Rompola recovery video. I have reached out to Mitch. I have told him that, look at Mitch, if you want to talk, I'm your guy. I don't think he'll do it. I get why he's gone underground. I respect that. But I find it interesting that the vast majority of people who don't believe Mitch or believe the buck is legit have never talked to Mitch, have never met Mitch. Most people who have talked to Mitch, like me, and have met Mitch, tend to believe that it is legit. But it just won't go away. The story won't go away. I would like to be able to put Mitch's spin on this again. So that's a dream for 2024. It's not a goal, because a goal is something I can work towards. I have reached out to Mitch. We'll see what happens. Coming up on this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show after the break, John Durtka, the guy who pioneered underwater spearfishing in Michigan, wants to expand that a little bit. And then at the end of the hour, Bob Ransom, the guy behind Primal Outdoors. The next 2 hours look pretty good too, but I'm not going to tell you quite yet what's coming up. You've got to stick around to find out right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, WCBY 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. You can hear us in Port Huron, WPHM 1380 AM, and you can hear us north of the bridge in Iron Mountain, WMIQ 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination. In fact, since there is no ice out there yet, you can still get out there in the boat. The docks, the ramps at Linwood Beach Marina are open. As far as I know, the docks are in. And if you want to get access to this wintertime Saginaw Bay Trophy Walleye Fishery, Linwood Beach Marina is a great choice. Check them out online at linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. I spend a lot of time chasing walleye from the surface of Saginaw Bay. But there are a hardcore group of people who have pioneered this sport of underwater spearfishing. John Durtka is the guy who really I have much respect for. He pushed for this. He got in front of the NRC, he got in front of the DNR, and he got underwater spearfishing to become legal in Michigan. You can follow him at Purely Michigan Spearfishing on YouTube, among other places. And he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Hey, John, welcome back to the show. How have you been?
Excellent. Good morning, Mike, and Merry Christmas. It's been a good year so far.
Well, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to you as well, John. I got to believe this time of year, you're not out there. It's got to be a little cold under that water right now.
35, 36 degrees is most of the temperatures throughout the Great Lake areas. But believe it or not, last weekend we gave it a try in Escota County for about 45 minutes and froze our butts off and didn't get a fish. So,
yeah, well, I give you credit for getting out there. I also, John, give you credit, as I have so many times, for having the tenacity and the dedication to push your love for underwater spearfishing and have it become a reality. That was quite a journey you went on there for a while.
Yes, it was, and I'm still doing it right now. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep pushing and try and get opportunities expanded on the rest of the Great Lakes and maybe add some more species opportunities here for 2025.
Well, what are you looking for? I know for a while you were talking to the dark house people, the spearing people. Now, they're not going to have much of a season, it doesn't look like, but what are you trying to expand into now, John?
So currently for the new game species that were passed in 2022, you could only harvest them on the lower portion of Lake Michigan and on like 2/3 of Lake Huron. So we would like to expand the rest of those opportunities to include the remaining portions of Lake Huron, Lake Michigan, and hopefully Lake Superior. Expand those opportunities for those anglers in those regions so they don't have to travel as far. And then we're hoping to add salmon for 2025.
Ooh, now that's a big ask. That one's going to get people's attention. Although, you know, you can currently you can shoot walleye, which is a game fish. I think you can shoot Lakers, which are game fish. So maybe salmon's not that big of a leap.
I hope not. You know, it's a put and take fishery. It's fairly isolated to, you know, northern parts of Lake Michigan and some on Huron and Lake Superior had some good runs, but I think it would be a very unique opportunity. Not a lot of angling bodies of water have these kind of opportunities, and I think it'd be a good place to see if we could get along and maybe have a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Well, you know, the initial reaction is going to be from the salmon fishermen, oh, no. You guys aren't coming after our salmon, which is what the walleye guys said, which is what the lake trout guys say. Statistically, biologically, even though you're out there, you're pushing for it, your numbers are growing, you guys have to report your fish so you can prove that you didn't really take that many fish.
Yeah, so, yep, we have to report, and that's going to continue on. As far as their reactions to us harvesting fish with spear gear, they don't actually seem to have a concern about that. Their concern is more of conflicts between user groups in certain areas, more like harbors and breakwalls, where you have your shoreline anglers and your boats kind of in the same area, and that's their number one concern so far. So the idea here is to try and work out something between the fishing groups that we can all agree on, and it will expand opportunities for the underwater spearfishing community and to not conflict with the user groups that are there currently.
Well, I mean, I get that. The last thing in the world we want is to cause conflicts among groups of like-minded people. There's enough going on in the world. We don't need to get underwater spear fishermen in a fight with the trollers. I mean, we don't, and the pier fishermen. If we can avoid that, yeah, we want to do that.
Absolutely. And we do that, you know, just as the nature of being underwater spearfishers. You know, when people are casting and trolling or jigging or just traversing through areas, we're the ones who are exposed for the, you know, the dangerous part of it. You know, you don't want to get caught up in anybody's line or, you know, get too close to them. So we avoid those areas, generally speaking, as just a habit.
Remind folks what you guys are doing. You're not going down there with tanks and sitting on the bottom. I mean, you're is it called free diving? Is that the right term?
That is correct. Yep, underwater free dive spearfishing.
And what is that?
So that's just you can go underwater as deep and as long as you can hold your breath. Just like holding your breath and start running, you know. Then you just have to dive underneath the water and pursue that fish in their natural habitat.
So physically, it's a challenge.
Oh yeah, very challenging. You know, 90% of the time you're spending is on the surface recovering, and then you die, right? So at best, you know, if you're really, really good, maybe you can spend a minute and a half underneath the water, but the majority of the time you're on the surface of the water.
Okay, so put that in perspective. I'm out there on Saginaw Bay. I might be out there for 6 hours trolling multiple lines in search of walleye. You're out there diving for them with a spear in hand, and you're doing it in 1 minute increments.
Yeah, 1 minute increments. Usually you're on the surface, you know, 2 to 5 minutes, whether you're moving from one area to the next or breathing up trying to get a good dive for your next fish. Most of that time is going to be spent on the surface, either looking for those fish or chasing them or doing something like that. And you're, like I said, you're limited to sight, you know, 15, 20 feet, maybe a little bit more if the water's real clear, but that, you know, that sight is about as far as you can shoot with that spear gun as well. So, you know, that's like really your maximum range is like 12, 15, maybe 20 feet at the most.
Do you
you know, that's just such a small area.
It certainly is. Do you have an idea how many of your people are out there?
Yeah, so through the reporting process that we use, just like rifle hunters and deer hunters now, we report every time we go, essentially every month. And through that process, we have estimated in 2022, is the most recent data that has been collected from that reporting process. We had 147 people that took fish in the summer months.
147 people took fish, and how many fish did you guys spear?
So in the walleye category, I think we scored just over 300, and we got 11 pike, and allegedly there was one lake trout that was harvested, but nobody ever seen it. So, whether that was just a fat finger punch on the reporting or whatnot, we don't know. But as far as the overall harvest, it was pretty nonchalant. Not very many fish compared to what you're seeing probably over there in the Saginaw Bay.
Well, I can't get over this. The number 147 people. So obviously, biologically, statistically, this is a blip. This is a glitch. It means nothing to the vast majority of Michigan anglers, but to you guys, it does. It's a big deal. This is your passion.
Yeah, this is the world to us, and being in the part of the state where you are in the Saginaw Bay, that was one of the most heavily fished areas by spearfishermen. Now, Mike, tell me, did you see anybody out there getting in your way, throwing diver down flags, anything like that?
No. The only flags I saw were on commercial nets. I didn't see anything from divers at all. No.
There you go. I mean, so like I said, that's one of the heaviest fished areas, and that's one of the especially with charter boats and things of that nature. Just overall pressure is pretty high in that location, and we avoid you guys avoid us, and it's a happy fishery as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I'm trying to think. I've never dove. I've never done it. I've always been fascinated by it. I've never done it, but I think that if I'm going to be down there underwater, I don't want to be around trolling boats. I don't want to see Avery come along with his angler quest with a 150-foot spread with multiple baits and hooks down there. I don't want to be anywhere around that.
Amen. We avoid it, man. And like I said, when it comes to the styles of fishing, especially with trolling, you're covering ground. We don't have that. I have to kick with my feet and swim everywhere I go, pretty much. So when it comes to fishing techniques, I'm dialing in a very isolated spots where I'm trying to harvest specific fish. When those fish leave, you have to, you either chase them or they're gone. Usually they're gone forever, but you cover ground. You cover lots of ground, and bait fish and bulls and stuff like that. I don't do that. We take isolated structure and we tack it, just hunt it, just essentially be very specific about our approach, and usually you can get some fish off that and head home.
So what depth of water are you guys targeting? Are you in areas shallow enough where you can go down and sit on the bottom, or are you targeting schools of suspended fish out over deeper water?
Right now, it's very, generally speaking, I haven't dove more than 30 feet and been successful. So we target relatively shallow water, pretty near to shore most of the time. And we've tried the deep water kind of suspended fish, and we just have had no luck with that.
Well, you've been very good at promoting your sport, social media. I mean, I've watched your videos, and they're fascinating. To be able to see what happens from your perspective, from the fish's perspective, it really opens up my eyes. And I think it's very interesting what you guys are seeing down there.
I agree, man. Like I said, it helps me become a better fisherman by learning the habits of the fish that I target in the Detroit River and in the Saginaw Bay when I'm not diving this time of year. You understand how they relate to structure and use the shadows of whatever they have and how they chase the bait fish, or sometimes during the day how they'll just lay on the bottom and sleep right next to rocks. Those are all different things that I didn't know for the most part. But now I do, because I get down there and I can see them and swim with them. We're
talking with John Durtka of Purely Michigan Spearfishing. You can follow him on YouTube as well as other places. Check out his videos. They're very, very interesting, fascinating. John wants to expand opportunities for his group, his people, the underwater spearfishermen. There aren't that many of them, but I think what they're doing is pretty cool. Anyway, we've got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, we'll wrap up our conversation with John. And then after that, we'll wrap up the hour with Bob Ransom of Primal Outdoors. That's coming up in this opening hour right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Alpena on WZTK. That's 105.7 FM. You can hear us in Tawas on WIOS, 1480 AM, 106.9 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Escanaba on WCHT, 600 AM, 93.5 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by that company right there. The company that made that sound. That's the sound of my Rapid River knife coming out of my pocket and locking back open. There were, I know for a fact, lots of Rapid River knives that were given as Christmas presents here last week, including John, who's with me here in the studio, gave one to his dad. John, did he like it?
He loved it.
He loved it. Okay, so everybody loves Rapid River knives. I love Rapid River knives. Check out their showroom just east of Rapid River. It's on US 2. Or if you can't make it up there, go to the website. Listen, you didn't get one for Christmas, so now's the time to get yourself one as a present. Go to the website, rapidriverknifeworks.us. That's rapidriverknifeworks.us. And join the Rapid River family. Right now we're talking with John Durtka, who is the guy behind, in my mind, the guy behind underwater spearfishing here in Michigan. Now, when I say underwater spearfishing, you might think that's kind of a joke. It's not. It's the real deal. And John, you guys have worked very hard for this, but I'm wondering this time of year when the water up here in Michigan is so cold, do you guys head south? Do you go down to the Keys, down to Florida and do some spearfishing down there?
Yeah, most certainly, well, depending on the people, but I do. I most certainly do. I like to head down to Miami or the Gulf side as well and try my luck with a saltwater fish.
And that's what I think of. When I think of spearfishing, I think of warm water, salt water. How did you guys bring this to Michigan? Is this something people have been playing around the edges with for a long time? Or is this something you guys just had the idea, said, look, let's bring it here to Michigan?
Well, I first discovered it in Michigan, actually. Before I ever went to saltwater to try it out. So there had been some people from Michigan that had toyed around with it and just hadn't gotten any traction with getting the opportunities opened up, right? Because that's the biggest limiting factor with spearfishing was the game fish. I don't want to shoot fish and not eat them, like certain kinds of suckers or carp or whatnot. And saltwater has always been a good way to get some of the best eating fish in the world. So when we didn't have those opportunities, if you couldn't go in the summertime here and get something you wanted to eat, go into Florida or North Carolina or somewhere where the water is warm and the fish are plentiful, it was a good idea, and it's proven to be a good experience.
With the game fish here in Michigan, though, you've got to abide by the same rules as the rest of us, right? Daily limits, size limits, all that good stuff?
Yes, exactly. It's no different as far as the size and bag limits. And when it comes right down to seeing them, you get to look at those fish right in the face and say, I want to harvest that fish. And there's no, harming or handling of any fish that wasn't intentional.
All right, so if I catch a sublegal fish on Saginaw Bay, I just unhook it, throw it back. You guys, there's no catch and release with spearfishing, so you got to be pretty darn sure of your target, right?
Yes, you have to make sure that you are going to account for your actions if you harvest that fish. You better be sure. And it's not very hard to tell whether a fish is legal or not. Like, is that a legal sized fish? You go and catch them all the time. You can be like, you can almost call them out as soon as you pull them in the boat. Oh, that's legal. I don't need to measure that. Versus like when we're down there, it's not much different. If you just think it's too small, you just got to let it go.
Well, and the cool difference is, in my opinion, is you're down there eye to eye with these things. You describe it almost as hunting these fish, which I think is very cool.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's the coolest thing in the world, to be 100% honest. Whether you see them sitting in the weeds, waiting for perch to swim by, or whether they're pushing perch up against the structure to kind of corral them and feed on them that way. You get to see it all firsthand.
So again, what you want to do is you want to expand opportunities geographically. And you also want to expand opportunities for underwater spearfishing into sport fish of salmon. How do you get this done? What do you need to accomplish? Now, I think by coming out and talking about it publicly, okay, you get the ball rolling because people have heard it now. So what happens next?
So right now, as I stated earlier, salmon are put and take fish. We raise them and hatch raise them and release them. And what we want to do is, those are terminal fish. They swim with the river and they die every year. So the fisheries division has no issue with us. They just want us to work with the other associations, the Michigan Charter Boat Association, the Great Lakes Salmon Initiative, Michigan Steelheaders, and so on, to kind of come up with a proposal that we can give to them that they can use to recommend the NRC that we all agree on. So that's what we're working with right now, is trying to get an understanding of where all of us as a community can agree that this will be provide us opportunity and not interfere with current opportunity.
Got you. So you've cleared the DNR hurdle. Everything's fine there. They just want you to work with the other groups and make sure you can avoid conflict. So that's going to be your goal then for 2024.
Yes, 100%. And I'll work with the NRC directly, hand in hand with them as well, to make sure they understand what we're talking about, what kind of opportunities are being brought to the table, and whether they agree with them or how we can change it to kind of, I guess, ease the minds of those who worry about, things about safety and areas being dominated or conflicting methods.
Right, man. Well, John Durtka, I've seen you in action before. I know that you're very, very effective, and I believe that if this can be done, you're the guy who's going to make it happen. So I congratulate you on that. Always appreciate your time. We'll talk again soon. If you want to learn more about John, listen, go to the YouTube channel, Purely Michigan Spearfishing on YouTube, Purely Michigan Spearfishing. You'll see his videos. They are fascinating and I think very cool. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, talk to another very cool guy. His name is Bob Ransom, and he's the guy behind Primal Outdoors. That'll wrap up this first hour of Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Battle Creek on WBCK. That's 95.3 FM. You can hear us in Muskegon on WKBZ 1090 AM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Marquette on WDMJ 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Matt Smith, Outdoors Realtor. Matt, a longtime friend of mine. He's an expert at finding recreational properties and vacation homes, and he can help your family turn a dream into a reality. Learn more online at Matt Smith Outdoors on Facebook and Instagram. And by the way, if you're looking for a new home as your primary residence, Matt can help you out there as well. That's Matt Smith Outdoors on Facebook and Instagram. Now turning our attention to another longtime friend of mine. His name is Bob Ransom. He is an icon in the outdoor industry, and he is the guy behind Primal Outdoors, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Bob, welcome back. How are you?
Mike, I'm doing fantastic. How are you this morning?
I am doing great. How was your hunting season? I know it's not over yet, but how's it going so far?
It was, Mike, it was a challenging year to say the least. We went to Kansas and we went to Nebraska, and we hit the weather all wrong. It was 60, 70 degree temperatures and very high winds. Had a fantastic time because it's, as you know, Mike, it's a lot more than just punching the tag anymore for us. But we had a fantastic time. I was able to harvest nice buck in the backyard on Thanksgiving morning.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Nice. Well, Bob, I'm a big fan of Primal. That Wraith 270 see-through ground blind is my go-to blind. I love your jaw and truss ladder stands. They're the only stands that I can get up in and feel just really safe and secure. You've got the ATA, the Archery Trade Association show, coming up here in a few weeks. I just want to check and see what's going on. Anything new coming at us from Primal?
Well, Mike, we've upped the game a little bit for us. We've come out with a new blind called the Harvester. And the Harvester, because I know how you love the Wraith and the Vision.
Yeah.
But the Harvester takes the Wraith and the Vision one step forward, a couple steps forward. It has on the left and right sides of the blind, it has your one-way see-through panels that are horizontal. In the front of the blind, you've got your vertical windows for your archers. There's 4 vertical windows plus a triangular window. All of it's one-way see-through fabric on the windows coverings. The triangular window is a magnetized window. All the other windows are the silent slide system, and the door is magnetized as well.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
And Mike, it's 62 by 62 footprint, which means that a gentleman your size with your wingspan can pull off a bow shot inside the blind.
so how does that compare size-wise to the Wraith? Bigger?
Yes, it is bigger. The Wraith is 58 by 58. So, so 62 by 62, 4 inches on the footprint equates to quite a bit, quite frankly, when you're talking a measurement from hub to hub.
Yeah, it sure does. And I love the idea of the magnets on the door because, Bob, you and I both know that when you're trying to sneak in there early in the morning or, right there late in the afternoon, the zipper, it sounds like an alarm going off in the woods. But the magnets, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, we addressed that. It's got a whole lot of small features like brush loop pockets to brush it in. It's got a 4-inch skirt all the way around the bottom of it, so you can kick a little earth up around it to seal the bottom off, to maybe stabilize it a touch.
Yeah.
It comes with a mesh cargo net up under the ceiling hub. So if you want to throw your lunch or your gloves or whatever you want to make sure is dry and up out of the way, and then it's got a bow holder that you can snap anywhere you want inside the roof of the blind in order to hold your bow.
And it's called the Harvester?
It is called the Harvester.
Well, is there a built-in shelf that I can use to lay my cigar during turkey season anywhere, Bob?
Well, we were starting down that path, but no, there is not, Mike.
Oh, okay. I'll have to make do. I then air them out across the summertime so I can use them for the fall bear hunts, and they don't smell bad. Bob, I think this is very exciting. You're going to unveil it at ATA. When are they going to be available? Are we going to have them in time for a spring turkey hunts here in Michigan?
Absolutely. And Mike, one last thing that I forgot to mention about the Harvester is it's got an integrated light system that's built right into the blind. So that's pretty. It's pretty neat. It'll run green. Green is the light that they say that the animals are less spooked by, and then it's got a white if you just want to light up the inside of it. But it's got an integrated light package inside the blind as well.
This sounds so exciting, Bob. You know I love hunting out of ground blinds. I can't wait to see this blind. I can't wait to sit in this blind. And listen, when it gets out there, let me know, and we'll do our best to promote it, and we'll shoot some video and let people know that it's out there.
Thank you. Will do.
All right, Bob. Also, I want to let people know that they can hear you on the latest edition of the Primal Podcast. By the time the radio show hits the air, the Primal Podcast will be online. The website, primaloutdoors.com, primaloutdoors.com. Bob Ransom is a guy who continues to come up with innovative ideas. He's a Michigan guy. I love that connection. I love working with Primal. Primaloutdoors.com, primaloutdoors.com. And I cannot wait to see this new Harvester. Maybe it's going to replace my beloved Wraith 270 as my favorite ground blind. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back in our second hour, we're going to the UP with Dave Johnson, the president of the UP Sportsmen's Alliance. We've got to talk about what's going on up there with their deer herd, deer hunting, and more than Eric Hilliard of the DNR. Coming up in hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polar Craft Boats, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And I do say always the best way to listen to the show, if you can, is on your local AM or FM station. Please support our radio affiliates. That's what makes this show unique in some ways. Aside from the fact that I've been doing this forever, it's the fact that it is a radio show. There aren't many statewide syndicated outdoor radio shows in the country. This is one of a few. And I want to support those local affiliates. If for some reason you can't listen on your local radio station, if your local station doesn't carry all 3 hours of the show, or if you live in some part of our state not covered by the broadcast signal, it's nice to know there is a podcast version of the show available. Podcasting is everywhere these days. Podcasting is so big that people can't wrap their brain around the fact that this is actually a radio show that's made available as a podcast. They just refer to it as a podcast, which kind of drives me crazy, to be honest with you, but that's kind of an inside baseball thing. That's my concern, not yours. You can hear the podcast version of the Outdoor Magazine radio show on my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, on my Facebook page, and on just about every podcasting platform out there, including Apple Music, Spotify, Stitcher, the whole Deezer, Odyssey. It's even on YouTube. I put the radio show up there on YouTube. I also do podcasts for some of my advertising partners, including Offshore Tackle, Angler Quest Boats, and Primal Outdoors. You heard Bob Ransom in the first hour of this week's radio show. He is also on this month's Primal podcast. Check that out if you would. Okay, so what else is going on? Oh, Happy New Year to you. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. I wish you a wonderful 2024. As we are recording the show, I still have not shot a deer. Haven't seen one yet to shoot. And I'm hunting downstate. Now, if I was hunting the UP this year, I tell you, my buddies who hunted the UP, I haven't talked to any one of them who was talking about what a great season it was. In fact, every one of my buddies said it's been kind of bad. Dave Johnson is the president of the Upper Peninsula Sportsmen's Alliance group, their website. Listen to this, Upper Peninsula Sportsmen's Alliance website.com. But I figured Dave would be a good guy to check in with this time of year and get his perspective on things, and he has graciously given us some time this week. Dave, welcome to the show. How are you?
Not pretty good, Mike. Yes, I have to say that my hunting season's been like yours.
For different reasons, though. Mine is just because I'm not a very good hunter, apparently. But you, there in the UP, you're dealing with some interesting stuff these days, Dave.
Yes, that we are. There's all kinds of issues that we have to deal with. Part of it was last year was the late snows that we had. I think that had some effect. When you have fawns that you expect to be born at somewhere between 7 and 8 pounds, and they're only being born at 3 to 4 pounds, it tells you that you got some problems that for the next year. That late winter did not help us. Of course, we have a heavier predator load than we've had in past years, and that also takes some effect. Looking at the numbers and compared to the harvest data that the DNR website has, if I look at the comparison on 12/27, 23, and 22, right now we are down 26% take in the UP. Overall in the state, we're down 10% approximately, and 9% in the Lower Peninsula. So, to date we have harvested 16,682 deer in the UP. So, compared to last year at 29,000. So we have to look at that data and ask ourselves the questions: what's really happening and what's going on? The other interesting point with that too is that this year we were allowed to bait, where in the prior years we weren't because of CWD issues. And according to one of the retired wildlife biologists, he feels that baiting increases the take somewhere between 15 and 25%. So we would have really been down without having the baiting this year.
I do find it interesting that you also included winter weather, because a lot of my buddies I talk with say, that winter weather is a bunch of bunk. They say it's wolves. Wolves are the problem. And I know, and boy, if you go on social media, Dave, That's what people say. It's the wolves. It's the wolves. It's nothing else. The DNR and the wolves, right? But it's a complicated issue. And living down here as a troll, I don't have to deal with it every day like you guys do there. It's got to be frustrating.
Well, the wolves and the predators in total. We also have mountain lions. We also, not as many, but we do have some. So as I say, it's predator load in total. Bears are out there. This year the bear. My house sits in the middle of an old potato field. I have 15 acres of alfalfa surrounding me, 5 acres of field, and then I have my maple sugar area that I have. So it's a nice combination of wooded and highlands, and there's some swamp down there too. Up at the camp, it's all primarily mixed hardwood and conifer. And this year there, we have a post that we call the Palace, which is big enough to have breakfast in on a wood stove with the group. But normally out in front of the Palace, I keep couple hundred pounds of corn, to go feed the post and metal garbage cans. This year, just before the rifle season, the cans were tipped over. But normally that time the bears are hibernating, and got pictures of him up there. And all the way through the end of deer season this year, basically I lost 600 pounds of corn from him deciding that he wanted something to eat. And that's very unusual for us.
And what do you attribute that to? I mean, was that a weather-related thing that he stayed out there later, or what?
Oh, yes, it's been very warm here. And I think that's what it primarily is. It's weather. It's when it gets cold, they go find themselves a snag or something, go lay under, or go find a cave and just don't come back out. But right now, up until the end of the deer season this year, we've had bear. In the rifle season, I've had bear out wandering around eating.
What about habitat, cedar swamps, deer swamps, loss of habitat, migration? You've got all those factors that we don't deal with downstate too.
Yes. Yeah, we have all of that. There's, one of our groups that is a member is the Great Lakes Timber Professionals. And as they'll tell you, everyone loves to see a tree. But we have to realize that those trees are just like our gardens. You plant a garden, sometime you have to harvest it. And the trees have a lifetime, and they need to be harvested and taken care of too. And part of that, if you think about it, is if you have good forestry practices, you're going to have access so that you don't end up like California and not be able to get at the fires that will come as a result of either lightning or just some other, maybe a power line falling down. Mm-hmm. But we're fortunate enough that we've had enough forestry practices here that we have access to most of our woods, which is absolutely wonderful. And so we're seeing some of that access is being restricted by some of the conservation easements that we have. And so I think that's part of the things that we have to look at too. But what I was getting at before is we have to realize that our life cycle is 1/10 of a lot of the cycles of what we see in the woods as far as forestry. So therefore, as we cut, as we treat it properly, we're going to watch it grow back. However, cutting cedar that's between 140 and 400 years old at the rate we're cutting it at, I'm not quite sure it's going to come back the way we want it. We see a lot of that being swamped out. I've been told by a couple of our foresters that, for example, a black ash will take between 20 and 25 gallons a day of water. And you start multiplying it by 200, you're at 500 gallons? Anyway, and you multiply it over a year, all of a sudden all of that water has to rise, or will rise to a level that is not being used any longer, and you have the potential of swamping out an area. And we see that in several of the areas that have been cut. So that concerns us.
That's the first I've actually heard of that concept. That's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. And I say a couple of our foresters have brought that to us. Actually, one of the professors from UW Stevens Point, who's involved in our Great Lakes Timber Professionals group, has told us about that.
Listen, Dave, hang tight. Boy, a lot of things. It's like a big, giant jigsaw puzzle there with deer management and habitat. And Dave Johnson is the president of the Upper Peninsula Sportsmen's Alliance group. Their website, Upper Peninsula Sportsmen's Alliance website.com. A lot more to talk with Dave after the break, but we do have to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, we'll wrap up our conversation with Dave. Then we'll talk more about the Pure Michigan hunt. And this week's Ask Avery question. That's all coming up in hour 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Caro on WKYO, that's 1360 AM, and WIDL 92.1 FM. You can hear us in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS, and you can hear us north of the bridge in the Sioux on News Talk 1400 WKNW. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Killer Food Plots, Michigan-based family-owned Killer Food Plots. Now listen, I know that you're not out putting in food plots right now, but you're just wrapping up your hunting season where many of you, myself included, are hunting over food plots. And it's a good time of year to be saying, okay, what have I done wrong? What have I done right? What can I do differently for next year? It's not too early to start thinking about that process. And when you think about food plots, think about Michigan-based family-owned Killer Food Plots. Their website, killerfoodplots.com. That's killerfoodplots.com. Talking now with Dave Johnson, who is the president of the Upper Peninsula Sportsmen's Alliance. Their website, Upper Peninsula Sportsmen's Alliance website.com. Dave, tell me about your group. Who is your group made up of, and what's the reason for all getting together and working together?
Well, we're an alliance of sporting clubs, and we have 60 to 70 members that are voting members. Each club gets one vote. Then we have a group of non-voting individuals and businesses also that basically give us their support and ideas and things that are happening. We're fortunate that we have folks now that are members in the entire state of Michigan. We also have members that are in northern Wisconsin and some in Minnesota now also. If you look at the individual tally we have, if we add everyone up, it tallies up to about 72,000 folks, but
Wow.
we have folks in there that are duplicates. So I just say 50,000 plus individual members that we would represent. But again, it's the sporting clubs that vote. It's the sporting clubs that have a say. When we get together, there's a lot of information normally that is passed out.
And what's the big concern these days for your people? Is it the UP deer herd, deer management? Is that what is on people's minds right now?
Oh, we have a lot of different things. Let me just take a quick run down some of the issues here.
Because there are a lot of them these days.
Oh yeah, well, the deer herd is one of them, and and of course predator load. We have to look at where the deer herd has gone, and you also have to look at where the industry has gone in the UP. Because at one time we had a lot more cutting going on than what we have now. We have areas that, actually, there's a lot of loggers that have just parked their equipment because they have no place to put the wood that they have cut. We've lost paper mills, and we've lost the ability for basically for the guys to operate and make money. So when you look at it from that standpoint, we're not cutting as much as we used to. So the question is, we have the food source also for the deer that we used to have when we had large cuts going on, especially during hard winters. And we also have to really look at what we have in the northern tier, and is supplemental feeding something that we're going to be able to continue, which it is right now, but we've had discussions about that in the future in the past also.
Is the concern over supplemental feeding, is that the effectiveness or the cost, or what are you concerned about?
where our groups are the ones that have funded it. It's more the effectiveness, and do you really have a whole landscape effect by doing that? And I think that we do in certain areas because where are they going to go otherwise?
Mm-hmm.
And again, we have a migratory herd, and the most important thing we have to protect, to be honest with you, is that pregnant doe right now. We need to be able to bring her and her fawns into the future so that we can reestablish the herd. And I guess that's pretty much the deer season, or the deer herd areas that we've all been looking at, along with the habitat and deer wintering complexes. We've been looking at cormorant control. As we all understand, is that we have a great number of cormorant that we have not been able to do anything with in the past, I think, 6 or 7 years, where at one point our sports groups were able to go out and at least have somewhat control over the cormorant, because they can wipe a lake or wipe a fishery out in no time flat.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have a new concern, which is the natural asset class companies, where they're trying to there is or has been legislation in the past, basically, that would make some of our national parks and national assets that we have available to SEC companies to come in and manage, and we have been opposed to that. We have the of course the wolf issue out there that we're talking about quite a bit, and you can see by some of the Facebook pages, especially with the Straits Area Sportsmen's Club, the number of wolves that we're seeing in the UP. We have a moose item that we've been talking about, and we, along with some of the CACs, the Citizens Advisory Committee, would like to see a limited hunting season on moose, so that we could take and have a lottery system and use those monies for moose research. We've also put forward the no minimum size limit northern pike. We as a group would like to see more inland lake planting of walleyes. Let's see here. Of course, we've also supported the Michigan Highlands project, and that, as long as it retains its working forest status, we're for that. Of course, we have the some of the trapper issues. We've been looking at some of the areas in the Ottawa forest that have been targeted for conservation easements. So we have a lot on our plate.
I guess so. You mentioned moose. I remember covering Moose Lift 1 and 2 years ago, and the DNR told us at the time that there would be 1,000 moose in the UP by the year 2000, and the ultimate goal was to have that limited moose hunt that you're talking about. Boy, that would bring people in. I think people would be very interested in that, don't you?
I think they would be too.
You also mentioned this term, reestablish the deer herd. It is, when I was a kid growing up downstate, my dad would go to the UP to hunt deer because that's where the deer were. There weren't any deer down by us. You'd wait at the bridge to take the ferry across in line like everybody else did. Is there a concern, Dave, that this tradition, this lifestyle, this passion of deer hunting in the UP, is it in jeopardy? Have we gone that far, or is this just a little blip in the road?
No, it certainly has. We have people selling. I actually sold my camp itself this year. Of course, being in my 70s now, I don't have the time to, nor the rambunctious to go keep the maintenance up, to pay the tax and everything else. So I sold the property that had just the camp on it. I kept 76 acres behind it to hunt. But the overall camp life itself, as we once knew it, is certainly going by the wayside, and camps are being sold because people aren't using it. Is it because of the deer regulations, or is it because of electronics? I'm not sure. Again, that's another subject that we can go in and talk about that for hours.
Oh, yeah. Do you consider your relationship with the governing bodies, DNR, NRC, and such, is it a good relationship, or are you guys more adversarial?
This has been the best NRC I've had to work with since Tony left. I mean, this group of commissioners is just a great group of people, and they listen. They're not afraid to tell you you're wrong, or where they think that you're wrong, and they'll listen to your response and tell you one way or the other what they think. Then, as far as the DNR, I think it's been a great working relationship. We've been working with the local biologists and all. We do have some differences of opinions on certain things, such as the wolf and some of the other things. It's one of the things that I've told them for several years is we need to stop driving those computers and go out and get your boots dirty.
I've heard that by more than just you, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, I think the groups that we have are good. It's just that we somehow have to figure out what to do with the resource.
Can people downstate become a part of this group, or are you guys just sick of the downstaters trying to mandate to the Yoopers how things should run when we have no vested interest?
No. We do have several clubs from downstate, and both from the Hunting Dog Federation to the bear groups to the various bird organizations. Yeah, we have several groups from downstate. We think it's great because there's a lot of knowledge and a lot of history that has to come together to make an informed, or even to make a scientific decision. So we welcome everyone.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, Dave. It's an interesting time. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of different pieces to the puzzle, and I'm glad that you folks at the UP Sportsmen's Alliance group are working on this, and I wish you nothing but luck. And I'd like to stay in touch with you, maybe talk again in the future as things develop.
Oh, that'd be great.
The website, Upper Peninsula Sportsmen's Alliance. This is a cool website. The website for the UP Sportsmen's Alliance is Upper Peninsula Sportsmen's Alliance website.com. Upper Peninsula Sportsmen's Alliance website.com. Dave Johnson, appreciate your time. We will stay in touch. Now, coming up here on the Outdoor Magazine Show, we got to take a break here. Coming up, I want to talk a little bit about the Pure Michigan Hunt. I think this is a very cool thing. And as I said in the first hour, I'm going to win this thing. Maybe it's going to be this year. Maybe it's going to be next year. But sometime while I'm still here on this earth, I am going to win the Pure Michigan Hunt. And I'm thinking maybe this is the year. So coming up after the break, Eric Hilliard of the DNR will remind us how to apply for this. I keep trying to twist Eric's arm. So far, I've had no luck in trying to get an in on this thing, but I'm going to keep trying. And then this week's Ask Avery question coming up to wrap up hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Flint on Sports Extra 1330 WTRX. You can hear us in Houghton Lake on the Twister 92.1 WTWS. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Newberry on WNBY 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Versa Skins. Just change your skin for the season you're in. Michigan-based, family-owned. You know I love that. Why buy a bunch of different sets of hunting clothes when you can buy one good quality set and snap on and zip on an outer shell of a different camo pattern? And if you're looking for big sizes, I'm talking 4, 5, 6X, VersaSkins owner Paul Perrone can take care of you. The website, versaskins.com. That's versaskins.com. I've been telling you throughout this entire show that I am going to win the Pure Michigan Hunt. It's a foregone conclusion in my mind. Of course, a lot of things have to align. The stars have to align and all that other good stuff, but it's going to happen. If I don't win it, though, I hope that you do. In order for you to win it, you've got to do the same thing I've been doing, and that is apply for the Pure Michigan Hunt. To help us figure out how to do that, Eric Hilliard of the DNR on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Eric, welcome back. Appreciate your time. How are you?
I'm doing good, Mike. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and, I'm really rooting for you this year.
I know you are, just like every year. I know you are. I'm going to win, but if I don't, somebody's going to. In fact, 3 somebodies are going to win this year, aren't they, Eric?
That's right. Every year we do 3 drawings. We're going to have the announcement coming up this next month, and all the details for that are, along with our list of sponsors, are available at michigan.gov/PMH. So I really encourage people to check that out and get their entry in before 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on December 31st to be sure that they can get in on that drawing.
December 31st, basically at midnight. Then how do we do it? How much does it cost, Eric?
So it's only $5 per application, and it only takes 1 application to win, because you just spoke with one of our winners here a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah. And I loved his story. And then when he told me that he only put in 1, I thought, oh, my word. Yes, it proves anybody can win.
Yep, that's right. But you can buy more than 1 application if you want, and each $5 Pure Michigan Hunt application that goes back into the natural resources here in Michigan, improving habitat and everything. So it's not just an entry for the shot at a hunt of a lifetime, but you're also putting back into the resources here in the state.
You call it the hunt of a lifetime, so do I. But what do these Pure Michigan Hunt winners win?
So they're going to get an elk license, a bear license, spring and fall turkey, antlerless deer, and also first pick at a managed waterfowl hunt area. And here for a reserved hunt. And here's the thing about that elk and bear tag. That enables you to hunt in any open unit during the season. So if you're not having luck in one area for bear, for example, and you want to go try another unit, you can go over to that unit, which is great. And you can also transfer those tags to other people if you so choose.
And the elk tag is a bull tag.
Yes, that's correct. It's an any elk tag. So you could take a cow if you wanted to, but I don't know of any Pure Michigan Hunt winners that have taken anything other than an antlered elk.
When I look at this, of course, I mean, the thing that I see is that bull elk tag, and then, of course, bear tags, a bear tag. But there's also some gear to go along with this, too.
Yeah, we got some great prizes from some Michigan sponsors that have been with us for a long time. And again, that list of sponsors, in addition to the prizes that they are offering, are available at michigan.gov/PMH. And so you could see, for example, that the 20-gauge shotgun that we get from Ducks Unlimited of Michigan, which is one of our top prizes in there. But aside from that, there's just a bunch of great prizes from a bunch of great organizations. You've got guided pheasant hunts. You've got guided trapping. You've got all these great prizes that you're going to get. It's going to be like Christmas in the middle of the spring once we bring the winners in and award them all of their gear. It's just a great time for everybody.
And so the deadline, again, is December 31st. When are the awards announced, and how is that done?
So we're going to do the awards just like we've done in years past with an award announcement video. And what we'll do is we'll give the first name, or we'll give the first initial, we will give the first name and the first initial of the last name along with the last 2 digits of their phone number for the 3 winners. And the reason why we do that is we want to make sure that we contact people that it wasn't intended as a gift. And so we'll make that announcement via video, and then I immediately after the video start calling those winners just to confirm that it's them and that they've won the prize. And we'll be doing that here in January, and third week of January, I believe it's the 19th is the Friday, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't have my calendar directly in front of me right now.
Okay, so just a reminder, Eric, it's Mike A80. Mike A80.
I hope for your sake, you keep saying you're going to win. Maybe this is going to be the year. And if it is, I'll have to come on the show to announce that you're one of the winners.
Oh, there's nothing I would like more than that. But Regardless, though, 3 people are going to win, but you have to apply to win. Michigan.gov/PMH. Eric, I will look forward to talking to you again when these winners are drawn.
Right. Thanks, Mike. And again, the date for that announcement, all the details and the link for it will be on that website as well.
Michigan.gov/PMH. Thank you, Eric Hilliard, for your time. I appreciate that. You can apply online. You can apply in person. You can apply as many times as you like. It costs $5 each time you apply. And even if you don't win, the money goes to a good cause. Michigan.gov/PMH. And again, it's Mike A. 80. That's who you want to draw. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, this week's Ask Avery segment deals with a couple of questions coming up as we wrap up hour 2 of Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine Show in Holland on WHTC. That's 1450 AM, 99.7 FM. You can hear us in Lansing on WILS, 1320 AM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Manistee on WTIQ, 1490 AM, 95.3 FM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. The way the Ask Avery question works, or Ask Avery segment works, is this is your chance to ask me a question, to get involved in the content of the show. Best way to get those questions to me is to send me an email, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. That's mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. In fact, that is the best way to get in touch with me for anything. Questions, comments, concerns, criticisms, stories, suggestions, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. This week, kind of a twofer. One of them deals with a post I put on Facebook with a guy named Mick. And I don't know how to say your last name, Mick, Leppien, sent me video of an albino doe in the Upper Peninsula. I think it was Chippewa County. And he's got video, I'm looking at it right now, it's on my Facebook page, of this doe coming into bait, which is completely legal in Chippewa County, right? So don't freak out about that. But the video is absolutely beautiful. Mick let that doe walk. But the question was then, and here is the question for this week's Ask Avery question, can you shoot an albino or piebald deer in Michigan? Now, an albino is something that is all white, pink eyes, the whole 9 yards. Piebald is somewhat more common, and that's a deer with white patches. It's not completely white, but it has white patches. And it's about 8-ish years ago or so, this answer changed. Yes, it is a legal target in Michigan to shoot an albino or a piebald animal. A lot of people don't like the idea. That's completely, morals and ethics, right? You have your own morals, your own ethics, and then there's the law. You might choose not to shoot a piebald or an albino animal, but if you want to, legally, you can. All right, so there's part one of this week's Ask Avery. Second part is, and this is, I'm just still amazed that this continues to be a question, because it goes back to 1998 and Mitch Rampolla, not Rampala, Rampolla, northern Michigan hunter who shot what would have been a world record buck had he gone through with the process. This will not go away. And people keep coming to me and saying, Avery, what do you think here? The reason they come to me is because I spent some time with Mitch years ago. I was at his house, shot some video of his mounts. He took me for a walk through the woods, telling me how he scouts. I did a radio interview with him shortly after he shot that controversial buck. We didn't record shows back then, but I wasn't too worried about it because I thought, well, this is going to be in the news forever. I didn't realize Mitch was going to basically go underground once all this went south, because Mitch got a lot of heat from this thing because he wouldn't get it x-rayed. He wouldn't follow through with it. people said, well, what is he hiding? What is he hiding? So they asked me what I think, because I had some interaction and I have some video out there. And by the way, if you go on YouTube and search Rampolla, you're going to find me in there with my videos. And also the Rampolla recovery video includes an excerpt from that missing radio conversation. I don't know how that surfaced. I don't even have it. Somebody's got it out there. But you can hear an excerpt from that. I find it interesting, number one, as I say, that this is still a topic of controversy. 25 years later, whatever it is. And also I find interesting that the vast majority of people who think this is a hoax, who think it is a farce, have never met Mitch Rampolla. And that most people who have met Mitch think it's legit. I still, even though there are some things that have surfaced over the years that make me have some grain of doubt, based on what I saw with my own eyes, based on what I saw with my interaction with the man, I think it's all legit. I think it's all the real deal. Are the odds against it happening? Yeah, but if you spend any time with Mitch Rampolla at all, you would realize the guy is not your average guy. Number one, he doesn't like people. He likes deer more than people. So I understand the fact that he wasn't going to put up with all this controversy and all the answering critics and stuff. He didn't care. He's interested in shooting big deer. And that's what he did, and that's what he continues to do. So I still think it's legit. Now, would I love to talk with Mitch more about this? Yes. I have actually reached out to Mitch to let him know that I'm still interested in talking with him. I don't think it'll happen. If you have a question for the Ask Avery segment, send me an email to Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and we will see what we can come up with. Coming up in our third hour, we're going north, but we're fishing for giant perch, open water fishing with Bob Hinds of Central Coast Angling, and we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef Dixie Dave Minar. That's coming up in hour 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons and Polar Craft Boats, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy. Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction. And welcome to hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas, and I wish you a happy New Year. I wish you many, many outdoor adventures in the coming year. Our outdoor adventures so far this winter are somewhat limited, depending on what you want to do, right? If you're looking for ice, you're probably pretty sad. If you're looking for snow, across most of the state, you're probably pretty sad. Earlier in the show, I was talking about, even though there's no ice, the open water fishing down in Saginaw Bay, Saginaw River, Lake St. Clair River, Lake Erie, Detroit River, steelhead fishing on the west side of the state, all just really, really well, doing really well. I neglected to talk about some fishing in the northwest part of the state, open water fishing in the northwest part of the state. And when I talk about that style of fishing in that area this time of year, there's one name that comes to my mind. His name is Bob Hinds. Central Coast Angling, centralcoastangling.com, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Bob, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Good. How you doing this morning, Mike?
Good, good. Are you on the water?
Maybe. I thought what better way to do than be on the outdoor radio this morning than actually be in the outdoors.
I can't argue with that.
No rest for the wicked.
Where are you at?
Grand Traverse Bay, perch fishing.
Perch. Man, I've seen some of the pictures
Always
of the
on
perch you
those
get
perch.
there. Tell me about your operation, because it's kind of unique what you're doing there, Bob.
It is. So, as mentioned before, I am on the trailer. So I work about, the way the weather's and the winter's been lately, I work about 9.5, 10 months a year. And hell, I get about 45 days off into January and all of February. And about 5 or 6 of those months, I'm actually perch fishing. I'm also salmon fishing, on the west side like everybody else, out in Lake Michigan. Coho, traveling around with the boat, a little bit of burbot. We did some burbot trips last year, but primarily 5-6 months a year I am fishing perch, like in Grand Traverse Bay or even Lake Michigan. So.
Well, the fact that you have a trailerable boat, I mean, it's a nice, big, beautiful, comfortable boat, but the fact that you can move around, that gives you a leg up on a lot of people.
Yeah, it does. If I'm sitting in one of these ports on Grand Traverse Bay or, one of these launches and I'm just not very happy and, I can shoot 20 miles, 15 miles, 5 miles, I can just hit a different launch and, just once you kind of figure these perch out, the depth of water that they're sitting in, if they're in 45 foot and all in the grass, if you know your grass beds, you can pretty much just cruise around, check your grass beds. Even like right now, we're sitting in 45 feet of water. I'm sitting here with my client, Joe, and it's just drop after drop after drop. I mean, literally we started today at 10 o'clock and I'm like, let's see if we can beat Mike Avery. And just as as you were picking the phone up there for me, we caught our last fish for the limit. So it's really good right now.
It's only been an hour, Bob.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of my day here. I guess, we'll go for a ride, try to find some new fish for tomorrow.
How much do you bounce around then? If you get on a school of fish, will they stay there for a while or they move from day to day?
Some of these schools, they're here within 100 feet every single day. What I like to do is I like to bounce my schools. I rotate my schools every 4 days. So much like bow hunting, you don't wear your tree stand out just fishing or hunting the same tree stand every day. I'm just rotating my schools. I might be, at the same port, but I'm fishing different schools. There's enough schools up in these ports that you can rotate your schools every single day.
What ports are we talking? Where are you fishing out of?
I'm fishing out of Bowers, Sutton's, Northport. There's times I'm fishing Hilltop. Even Elmwood right now has a great school of perch down in the whole of Traverse City. So, yeah, just primarily West Bay. I think a little bit East Bay. I'll bounce over there a little bit, fish Old Mission area. So,
well, you got some pretty nice scenery on shore when you're out there on the water. Then that's for sure.
I like to tell my clients I watch the snow come, I watch it leave, I watch the leaves turn green, I come back and I watch the leaves drop, and I watch the snow come again. So I see all the seasons from Grand Traverse Bay up here.
How did you end up in this niche? Because as we said, it is kind of unique. How did you end up here, Bob?
Gosh, I ask myself that that exact question every day driving to work. How did we get to this point? And honestly, it feels like forever ago. And I was just like, nobody really perch fishes, and we have an outstanding perch fishery up here. As long as you work really hard, I fish every single day, so I know exactly where to fish. And you just start building this reputation of the perch guy. So I don't know. That's kind of I just fished a lot.
Well, and
it started having huge success.
Well, I was going to say not just a reputation as the perch guy, but as the jumbo perch guy.
There are times we catch very, very, very large perch. Today we went for quantity and not quality. But there are times, I know Amy and Greg DeKeevers, you had them on the radio a couple times. They fished with me at the end of November. I always had a boat record. If we can get 16 inches, I'll pay your taxidermy. That for years that stood. I mean, the Grillos have taken cracks at it. They've got some 15 3/4. and everybody's taking cracks at it. And finally, Greg hit a 16-incher.
Did he
with me
really?
last month out on Lake Michigan. And I looked at him. I'm like, oh, it finally happened. So I moved that up to 17 inches. Come on, get a 17-inch perch. I'll pay your taxidermy.
So out on Lake Michigan, where are you fishing there? I mean, are you fishing pure heads? Are you out in deep water or what?
No, it's the same program. It's the same program as all of Grand Traverse Bay. You just have to drive around. It's endless out there. And you just, it's just like being a good salmon fisherman, being a good walleye fisherman. The fish are holding in 65 foot right now. And if there's a flat, I'm going to look at all the 65 foot of water and, oh, well, there's a school right there. And then, you just lay your waypoint. Anything about big jumbo perch, they're up here by us. They hold pretty tight year after year after year. Some of these schools I've been fishing up here for 5 years, and they've been within 100 yards every year for 5 years in the month of November and December and January.
And do you think that's a water temp thing or a structure thing or a bait fish thing?
I think it's everything. A good friend of mine, well, Larry Jennings, we talk all the time about the puzzle of these fish and why do they come back to these spots. And we always say it's water temperature and food.
Well, when you say it that way, it seems so basic, but to the average person trying to find these fish, these jumbos on a consistent basis, it can be really challenging.
Don't be afraid to fail. It's very challenging, especially here because the water is big. You can look at this water out here, and for me, I'm here every day, so it's easy for me to break down this water because I'll search. Sometimes I'll come out and I'll search for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and I'll just knock off one area that's a half mile.
Really?
Well, there's no fish in that,
Wow.
so I don't look there again. And I'm always looking these areas. These areas I've looked year after year after year, and sometimes I will find new fish that I've never seen them in before. Right now, we're creeping along. I'm looking in a new area I have not looked before. And if there's a school of perch here, great. I'll work on them for a week or two.
I got to believe, though, with your visibility and your reputation, people follow you around that lake, don't they?
Yeah, but I mean, that's okay. That's part of it. I don't mind, and a lot of times there's a guy out here right now, a guy that tournament fishes on the trail, and he's out here, Chris, and it's like, just come over here. Like, I don't have your phone number, but you drove a long way to catch perch up here, bud. So, I'll probably end up messaging him and be like, hey, come over and get some fish. I don't care. But at least say hi. If you come out here and you're on the water and you see the red skeeter, come up and say hi. I love it when people say hi to me. Don't come up and like weasel in close and not say anything. Like, say hi, Bob. Introduce yourself. I love meeting people. So,
well, in
the
in the business that you're in, you have to be a people person, don't you?
Yeah, I try to be a people person. I try to be pleasurable and everybody comes to the water. I've said this for years, comes to the water for a different reason. Sometimes people just want to catch fish. Sometimes people haven't had a break from work. I have a school teacher that fishes with me, and he usually uses his spring break or his summer break, and I'll see him once or twice a year. And he's just looking for a break. Oh, there's some perch right there. As I'm looking. So,
Are you looking right now on your graph? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I just saw some on the live scope.
Okay, that was live scope. That was okay. I got to get into that.
Yeah.
Several things I want to follow up on. You talked about burbot. I got to talk about that. You talked about fishing for big fish versus numbers, and then live scope. So we got a lot of things to follow up on. I know you're on the water, Bob. Can you stick around for a while and give me another segment?
It's fine. Yeah, absolutely. I'm fine.
Okay, good. So you got a 4-minute break right now. Get done what you want to get done. We'll take care of some business. We'll come back and talk to Bob Hinds of Central Coast Angling, centralcoastangling.com, centralcoastangling.com. He mentioned the Grillo boys, the Grillo family of Michigan brand meats. They fish with Bob all the time. I'm always getting pictures from Nick Grillo of those guys standing at the back of the boat with big smiles on their faces, holding jumbo perch. I'm talking big perch, also burbot. Man, I wasn't even sure what a burbot looked like. Nick said it's some of the best fishing he's ever had. Bob Hinds, Central Coast Angling, centralcoastangling.com. Also coming up in this hour, of course, wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. I'm going to wrap it up with him. My name is Mike Avery. My website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what's on your mind, and we'll talk more after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show on more than 30 stations across the great state of Michigan, including WLDN in Ludington, noon 97.98 WLDN. You can hear us in Sandusky and WMIC, 660 AM, 95.3 FM. And you can hear us in St. Joe on WSJM, 94.9 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Premier Maritime Training. If you've ever wanted to get your captain's license, I think this is your best bet. Captain John Littlefield taught my captain's class. He helped me become a licensed charter captain, and he can help you as well. Check out the website, pmtcaptains.com. That's pmtcaptains.com for more info. John has classes across the state, and I'm sure you can find one that fits your schedule. That's pmtcaptains.com. Speaking of captains, right now I'm talking with Captain Bob Hinds of Central Coast Angling, centralcoastangling.com. Bob is on the water right now. He's searching for jumbo perch, and that's something, Bob, that you're pretty darn good at.
Yeah. We actually, on the break, I think I said something about, there's some fish right now, get them, Joe. And, we're just searching out and just checking some new schools. I just found a dandy new school, so we're working them over right now, actually.
All right, so live scope, that's got to be great for what you're doing.
It is, yeah. I like to call it old school when we didn't have the live scope.
What do you mean by that, Bob? Oh, old school before we had it. I got you. Okay, yeah.
Traditional sonar, going old school. So I have had problems. My live scope goes out here on the water. I'm like, we're going to fish old school. And basically, all that is to figure out which way the school's moving. You're using the GPS, and you're just tracking them that way. And then you're watching your 2D very carefully.
And do these schools move as you're targeting them, and you're on top of them? Are they moving then?
Absolutely. Yep. I just actually, this school we're on right now, it's in 46 foot of water, and we just caught a fish out of it, and it just moved 70 feet. So, the live scope helps follow them.
Yeah.
It helps me see them, down in the grass, kind of, and then just depending on the size of the fish and how deep the water, I can be like, these are all really big fish. These are 12, 14-inch fish down here because they're in deep water and they're really tight. So right now I can tell you that the jumbo perch, it's hard for me to see. If we catch one, they might move 200 feet.
Just a heads up, we're getting a lot of wind noise, and you're breaking up a little bit right here. Now, okay, that's better. When you say 12 to 14-inch fish and they're not jumbos, that blows my mind.
No, that's what I'm talking about is jumbos, 12 to 14-inch fish.
Man. Yeah.
I like 8 to 11-inch fish. Those are my favorite for eating. Yeah.
All right, with the live scope then, can you see how these fish are reacting to your bait to give you a better idea of what they're looking for on a given day?
I'm not so much looking at my bait. I'm just looking for clumps of fish.
Earlier,
I'm looking for I'm trying to locate fish, schools of them, groups.
Are they always on the bottom, or do you ever find them suspended?
Yes. Nope, always on the bottom.
And then, are you fishing them with a standard perch rig?
Perch spreader.
Colors?
I custom tie my perch spreaders. So I use 8-pound floral with 1.5 ounce bell weight, and then a number 6 gold Aberdeen. And then right now we're fishing minnows, but there's times I'm fishing wigglers, sometimes spikes, sometimes waxworms.
Always live bait though, never plastic.
No, not unless they're really chewing, going nuts.
You said
Berkeley Gulp. I'm a big fan of that one.
Well, that's what I wondered. That's the one I was thinking of. Yeah.
The little honey worms, the little green ones. In the springtime, I use those a lot.
And what about the concept of looking for numbers of fish versus big fish? You said you've got clients who have certain preferences. How do you approach those days differently?
If it's a new client, I generally will give them volume, eating quality, because it's always work. If I'm going to come out and catch, just look for giant perch, maybe knowing we only might catch 10 or 12 with one client, maybe we catch 25. I'm going to put in a 5-hour day of on the water versus maybe a 1 hour or a 30-minute day on the water, to get a limit. So,
are you cleaning all those? Are you cleaning all those? Are you cleaning all those fish for your clients?
Yes, I am.
Oh.
Except for the clients that prefer them scaled. If they want the skin on, then they get sent home with fish. But nobody ever really complains. I'd say I have people walk away with fish 5 times a year.
Really?
But yeah, so it's a lot of cleaning.
I guess. All right. So, how long will this really hot jumbo perch fishing continue into the wintertime?
They're going to be here all winter. I mean, it starts October and it goes right through May. They're here the full time. There's days where they absolutely chew and the fishing's really good. I had a really good day the other day. And I was just like, wow, like I got in on it. I was catching fish with my clients and we were all giggling, yanking up 14, 15 inches. And there's days where they might not bite good at all. Like they might not bite for a week. They're there, but they just don't chew good. You can go out and catch maybe 10 of them. Other days we'll go out and catch 75 of them. It's still fishing.
Yeah, well, I don't know, but the numbers I see you bring in are pretty darn impressive. That's for sure. Do you get ice up there at all, Bob?
Yeah, it will. If it's in February here, if it gets cold and calm, 5 degrees overnight, and the water's 32 at that time of the year, it's going to freeze up. But the wind is going to come rip it up a couple days later. So about every 5 to 8 years, maybe 10 years, Grand Traverse Bay will freeze, and usually the outer bay, way out towards the end of the Leelanau is open, but the launches are usually froze up. So usually that's February for me.
Enough ice to go ice fishing or no?
Yeah. I ice fished Grand Traverse Bay in 2019.
I bet you like open water fishing better, though.
I remember in 2021, or no, 2022? No, 2021, I was going past, spring of 2022, I was going past Sutton's Bay in my boat, and I could see the guys up on the ice fishing. I was just laughing. So somebody's got to be out there crazy in a boat. I was that guy.
Yeah, well, it works for you.
It's good. It's good fishing.
You mentioned burbot earlier. That's something that's never been on my radar screen till I saw the Grillo boys with some pictures of some burbot they caught with you, and I thought, man, maybe that looks like something that needs to be done.
Yeah, the burbot fishing is a lot of fun. Usually I do that the first week of March. It's something that I can do out of the boat as long as, we can get it out of the launches. That's number one, is we got to be able to get the boat out of the launch. And if we can get out there, we can get on burbot. And it's an absolute blast. They eat extremely well. It's, usually consistent action. And it's pretty much anybody can do it.
How did you find those fish? Were you looking for perch and ran into a school of burbot?
No, you just kind of, it's like finding any other fish. You just kind of got to know where to look. And usually it's somewhere around 60 to 80 foot of water. And if you have a little bit of grass and you look, I cannot see them on my live scope because they sit so tight. So what I do is I use my 2D and I just go very, very, very slowly until I just see a little blip, a little wiggle, and oh, yep, there they are. And you drop down and you start pounding bottom. And, a lot of people think that, you got to catch them at nighttime, but I go right out in the middle of the day and get them. I think when I took the Grillos, we started at 11 o'clock in the morning and we were done probably around 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
So what are you using for those? Just more of a standard jig?
Lead. Trout and pouts. I had Nick catching them on a 1 ounce jig and wrap perch. They're eating a lot of perch, like juvenile perch, 4 or 5 inch perch. And I had him on a 1 ounce perch colored Rapala jig and wrap, and he was just one after another after another.
He's got a good jig and feel, though. I fished the river with him, and he's pretty good on a jig and stick.
He's pretty good at everything he does, I figured out.
You know what? I think you're right there.
He's one of those guys.
Yeah, I think you're right. How is the burbot as far as a fighting fish?
Like a wet sock, like a walleye.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Something I can relate to. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. I say it's like a wet sock. It's like a walleye. You get a couple little head shakes, you got something on there, and then they're there. So
what's the appeal? Are they a good eating fish?
Eating. It's just strictly eating. Strictly meat. Just like perch.
Yeah. All All right, so you concentrate on perch. You also fish burbot, but didn't you mention something else?
Yeah, I troll salmon. You know, I go to Whitehall and Pentwater the entire month of May and fish there. And then I come back to the Manitou Islands in June, and I fish kings out of the Manitou Islands, Leland and Glen Arbor, all of July. And then August, I go to Manistee along with everybody else and fish them there. And then thankfully I have a little niche fishing coho in Platte Bay. And that basically keeps me busy for almost 3 weeks every day.
Well, and how has that fishing been lately?
Oh, absolutely phenomenal. Our coho run this year, I would say, was about 25 to 30% better than previous years. Wow. It was just an absolute great time. It seemed like a never-ending season this year. We just kept going and going. I think I fished almost 4 full weeks for coho in Platte Bay this year.
And is that that's a trolling bite too, isn't it?
Jigging and casting. It's just like the Detroit River. Yep. I do not troll coho when I'm in Platte Bay. It's just absolutely jigging and casting only. Oh,
that opened up a whole new thing here. I didn't know you were doing that. That's what I was going to ask you. You know, after spending so much time on the water with a rod in your hand, to go trolling must drive you crazy.
I like, right around July, I'm starting to get the itch pretty good. We jig a lot of lake trout. If I do local trips here on Grand Traverse Bay, we are jigging lake trout, and I like to call that rod in hand season. I'm always middle of July, I'm screaming, I can't wait to get, direct contact rod in hand season. Mm-hmm. We do jig the kings when they come in the harbor a little bit too, but that first initial push for me getting a rod back in my hand is actually coho and Platte Bay, and I get so excited about it all summer.
All right, so what's your best guess? How long are you going to be fishing this year? Open water.
I have a booking right now on the date or on the calendar, January 9th. I see some cold weather coming in. We all know that that's only going to last a couple days before it bumps back up to 30. And the way the boat works, if it's over 34 degrees and calm, we're going out on the bay. So I have a feeling that I will see January 20th in the bay this year.
So if we go to your website, centralcoastangling.com, centralcoastangling.com, we can book a trip with you?
Absolutely. Call me on the phone or text me. I love that stuff. It's 231-709-0990.
And that number's on the website, centralcoastangling.com. Bob Hinds, always a pleasure. Good fishing to you. We'll talk again.
Thank you, Mike.
All right. I tell you, I have yet to fish with Bob. He has invited me several times, but I have friends, as I say, the Grillos, the Keevers, who have fished with him, and they have nothing but good things to say. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. Man, this week, this show has flown. More coming up after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Manistee on WMLQ 97.7 FM. And you can hear us in Tawas on WIOS 1480 AM, 106.9 FM. And as I look through my list, I think the only station remaining is WSGW in Saginaw, 790 AM, 100.5 FM. I'm in the studios of WSGW right now, here with Jonathan Dent, doing a great job as always. John, appreciate that. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Reader Landscaping. Reader can take care of your lawn and property because it's your nature and our nurture. Let Reader create an outdoor getaway in your backyard. Not too early to start talking about, start thinking about, start working on springtime projects. Get on the schedule now. Talk to Reader. Get on their radar screen. Get on the Reader radar screen. If we do get any snow this year and you decide you don't want to shovel it, and I don't blame you, this is either at your house or your business. Reader can take care of that as well. And don't forget about wintertime projects like dormant pruning. This is a great time of year to do that. Cut the trees back, get them a good shape, get them ready for the springtime. The website, readerlandscaping.com. That's readerlandscaping.com. But be advised, if the guys from Reader come over, a lot of them are hunters and anglers, so you might end up talking hunting and fishing for a while. At least that's my experience. I was just looking at the rundown this week, and it's gone by so fast. Sometimes the shows, each show has its own character, from my perspective. And they're like their own critter, their own being. And this one was just really fast. In fact, it's kind of taken me by surprise just how fast this show has gone by. And I guess that's a sign of good guests. hopefully of interesting conversation and information, and the fact that I still absolutely love what I'm doing. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. I wish you a happy New Year. I hope Mother Nature cooperates with whatever it is that you want to get done. But isn't that the case when we're dealing with what we do, hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping, that we are always at the mercy of Mother Nature? You can't control it. You know, the old saying, nobody does, you talk about the weather, nobody does anything about it, but you talk about it. Well, that's all you can do because you can't do anything about it except for to kind of roll with the punches and make the most of it. As we are in the studio right now, there's still a few more days of the deer season open. I still don't have it. I still didn't shoot a doe. I still haven't. I went out last week. I got away from the food plots, went back in the woods over to the state land, tried to intercept those deer as they were coming in before it got dark. Nothing. No luck at all. And I told myself at the time, I said, this is the last night that I'm going to sit on the food plot or sit on the lease property. I'm going to abandon it, give up, and I'm going to take advantage of the offers of some of my friends. I've got 4, maybe 5 friends that I know have big does coming into their food plots or coming into their property every day during broad daylight, and each one of them has said, quit banging your head against the wall and come and shoot one of our does. And I was going to do that until this morning. As I'm sitting in my truck in the parking lot of the radio studio getting ready to do the show, it hit me. No, I don't want to do it that way. I'm stubborn, maybe stupid, doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. Well, that's where I'm at right now. But I'm gonna sit on our lease property until it's done. And whatever way it ends up is how it ends up. I just feel like there's too much time, too much invested in this, and it's just to walk away from it and go over and do an easy hunt at somebody else's place and shoot a doe. Yeah, I'd have venison in the freezer, which is kind of the whole goal, right? Or one of the goals. But it just wouldn't be right. If I can somehow, at the last minute, be in the right place at the right time and put down a big doe with that Brenton 350 Legend, that'll make it all. What a great story I'll have for you next week, right? It'll look like I knew what I was doing all along, which in reality, I haven't. Oh, we'll see. New Year's resolutions. I don't make them because resolutions are made to be broken. I have goals I set for myself every year at the beginning of the new year. This year, same goal I had last year as far as deer hunting. I just want to shoot a Michigan deer. That's all. Not a big deal. I just want to shoot a deer. I also want to fish more, which I tell you what, after last summer, I don't know how I could fish much more because I was out there all the time, but I want to fish more. I also want to take more newbies out. More, by newbies, I mean people who have not had the experience of fishing Saginaw Bay or for walleye or on the Angler Quest. I want to get people out like that and show them what my summertime world is all about and expose them to that because I've never taken anybody out there that didn't absolutely love it. I also want to start harping on this whole idea of getting rid of the rod restrictions for Great Lakes trolling anglers. This is something I talked about a couple of years ago. We kind of let it drop for a while. It's time to bring it back up. And there are some things in the works behind the scenes that I think this is going to happen now. And it's not anything that I've done, but I'm going to see if I can help push this through and bring it back to light again. And again, I'm going to win the Pure Michigan Hunt. Those are my goals for 2024. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, nothing sophisticated. That's all I want. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, we're going to wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire and just all-around good guy. No, not good guy. All-around great guy. Chef Dixie Dave Minar of the Old Dixie Inn, of Oscar and Joey's, had a restaurant in Florida, was a private chef on the yacht of a guy who owned an NFL team for many years. This guy's done it all. And he'll help us wrap up this week's Outdoor Magazine show. Coming up after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine as we get set to wrap up 2023, move on to 2024. Interesting time of year. A lot of anticipation, looking forward to the new year, looking back, how could we have done things differently? How could we have done things better? How could we have spent more time with the people we want to spend time with? One of the guys I always love spending time with, wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. He's been a friend of mine for a long time. He's just an absolute great guy. I was telling you before the break that he's had several different restaurants. He was a private chef on a yacht. The guy's had just a very interesting career, an interesting life. And I love the fact that he takes time out from his week to help us wrap up each week's show. David, welcome back. Listen, I hope you guys had a great Christmas.
We did. We had a Michigan brand ham, too, for our dinner.
Aren't those good? We did, too. Those are so good.
I know it. It doesn't get any better.
Oh, that's for sure.
It's a little bit of extra cost, but it's well worth it to us.
Oh, yeah, they're great. And Jonathan tells me you got a fish recipe for us this week.
I do. The steelhead are in the streams right now.
Mm-hmm.
And all like the other fish, too, like the browns and the rainbows. This is for like plate-sized fish, maybe up to 12 to 14 inches long. It's a stuffed fish with dried cherries. So you want to clean, gut it out, and then get the gills out also. And you want to debone it from the inside out with a little sharp knife, a little thin blade. You need some flour to dredge, the juice of a lemon, the juice of an orange, and between 2 and 3 cups of cubed up fresh bread. I like the fresh bread. It's better than dried anyway for this recipe anyways. A couple of beaten up eggs, a medium onion diced fine, a 1/3 cup each of green, red, and yellow pepper. Gives it a wonderful, wonderful eye appeal too when you're making this. A couple ounces of black cherry schnapps if you can find it. If not, get black cherry jelly and melt it down a little bit and add that to this dish. You need about a 1/2 cup to 3/4 cup of dried tart cherries, Michigan, Traverse City cherries. About a tablespoon of tarragon leaf or whatever your favorite spice is. It could be basil or whatever. And then 3 cloves of garlic, a little bit of parsley chopped up, 1/2 stick of butter, and a 1/2 cup to 3/4 cup of white wine. So after you bone the fish out, set it on the side for a minute, and then in a small amount of olive oil or butter, you can saute the onions, the tarragon, the peppers, and the garlic for just a couple minutes, kind of break that flavor loose, because this is going to be in the oven for a while, 15 to 20 minutes anyways. So in a large bowl, big enough to hold all of the ingredients that we aforementioned, you want to add the breadcrumbs, the beaten up eggs, about half of the citrus juices, and save a splash for the sauce because it's going to be a great sauce. The vegetables, schnapps, cherries, everything. Blend it all real nice. And if the dressing is a little too soupy, you can add some breadcrumbs or maybe a little bit more diced up bread. You want it not too soupy, but you want it to be able to hold together when you stuff it. So you're going to stuff the body cavities with fish, or with the mixture of the fish. And then you want to roll the fish lightly in flour in a real nice hot pan. You want to brown it off on both sides. Careful when you flip it. You want to use 2 spatulas to do this. Set it on a baking sheet. Well, if you're going to do more than one, you could. If you're going to do only one fish, you could leave it right in the pan that you're going to fry with in an oven-proof handle. You want to bake it at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes because there's eggs in it, and you want to get that middle to about 180 degrees. So we want to take a couple of spatulas and set it on your plates, and then remove only the top skin. Starting at the head, take a dinner fork and put it underneath the skin and kind of roll it back. It works really, really cool. So you can take a paper towel, wipe out any scraps in the pan, return it to the burner, and then in the same pan you want to add either the cherry schnapps or the black cherry jelly, lemon juice, orange juice, white wine, 1/2 stick of butter, and a little bit of parsley. Reduce that down so it's real nice and fast, so it's thick and creamy, and spoon it over each each ordered a fish, and man, it is just the greatest dish. We did this for the TV show probably 20 years ago.
It sounds great. I think I remember it. It sounds a little complicated, this one, though, Dave.
Not really. Just got to learn how to bone the fish from the inside out. You just take and open it up, facing the body cavity facing towards you, and take a real sharp knife and run it along the inside of the ribs on both sides, and then take your fingers and your thumb and run it along the backbone there, and then it pulls right out. You have a little package of bone, and the boneless fish is just great.
I remember seeing it.
Fish.
Yep. I remember seeing you do that now. Actually, when I look at over the years, I've learned so much from you about cooking wild game and stuff, but I never really had to internalize it much because I always knew if I wanted a good wild game dinner, I could just go to Dave's.
There you go. Not now.
Not now. All right, buddy. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Everybody have a great New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve. Words of advice, words of wisdom from wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar, a big part of the Outdoor Magazine show. As are you, because if you weren't listening, there'd be no reason to do this show. I'm not ready to retire. I'm not ready to call it quits. I appreciate you joining me. My name is Mike Avery. The website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Love to hear from you. Let me know what's on your mind. And I look forward to talking with you next time right here on Outdoor Magazine.